8:47 in Trinidad and Tobago. Well, let's shift the mood completely to a much more pleasant experience. Let's tell you about Believe in Love. It's a musical evening with mothers in mind happening on Mother's Day. And to be precise, it is May the 9th. Sometimes I lose track when is Mother's Day, but many people certainly keep that in mind immediately. The Justice for Women Foundation, founded on New Year's Day, is engaging in a fundraising effort to assist with their mandate of social outreach. And here to tell us more about the event is Joy Rivers, a well-known musician and a music producer, also a member of Justice for Women. Joy, very good morning to you. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Particularly to all the mothers looking on, and then to everyone who loves their mother. And that would be everyone.
Well, I would think so. I can't imagine anybody who hate their mother, or they might have issues and so on with mommy and things, but I doubt very much anybody would actually hate it. But let's talk about the event. It's coming up on May the 9th. Of course, because of COVID-19 restrictions, it's going to be online. For those who would like to follow it, to access the event, what do they have to do?
Right. They simply go onto our official event page, which is housed at ientlive.com. That's IENT live.com. And IENT Live is really a very comprehensive virtual space. So it's all there. You could purchase your tickets there, $100. To get the unique access code to view the event. Also, there's merchandise. There are actually is actually access to other shows there as well. So this is really what the world is moving towards. And thankfully, because of the folks at ientlive.com, they have actually been developing and establishing this digital space long before the COVID pandemic came. So we were well ahead of the game. Thank God. So now we function just as if it was an actual space. There's a box office. It's pretty much like how you shop on Amazon. You could do cash payments, which we would pick up. You could do credit card, online banking, etc. All the mechanisms to contribute your $100. And that's right where the show will be aired as well.
And before we talk, Joy, about your involvement in the Justice for Women Foundation, which is so very important as well in the times that we live in, you will be involved as one of the performers at the event. Tell us about some of the others who will be involved in the event.
Right. So all artists are going to be backed live by the Joy Rivers Band. I'm also the musical director of the event and producer. So we're also going to be having, from the icons to the newbies. So we have Marcia Miranda, Dr. Louis Nurse of Louis and the Lynx. Then we also have Skatie, Tameika Darius, Marcus McDonald, Cindy and Bigford, a Spanish and educator Bruce Roberts will be with us as well. Errol Fabien is going to be our lead character, and his role as host is going to be very theatrical because he's actually going to be an incarcerated inmate in a jail cell for the entire show. So that's how we're looking at Trinidad and Tobago.
So the MC, so he's going to be incarcerated for the entire show, Errol?
Yes, because he abused his wife.
Okay, well, hopefully he won't be on remand because he will never get out if you're on remand. But I mean, we might be smiling and laughing, but there's some very serious issues that I know you are championing as well. Tell us about your involvement in this organization, which was launched on New Year's Day, the Justice for Women Foundation.
Right. So, well, we have coined the term edutainment, and pretty much like, we would cut fruits or vegetables into fun shapes for children to consume it. There's been a lot of serious pushback, a lot of very serious talk. But the reality is that the gentlemen who would want to receive that message, who might be, borderline deviant by nature, or maybe just be reacting to underdevelopment in themselves, they also need help. They also need intervention. And even while a guy might be incarcerated for abusing a woman, he needs to know that there's some opportunity for him to amend his ways. So that's where I come in. I've been working with inmates in the prison system, teaching them music for over 30 years. Even while in ecstatic, I would spend time in the nation's prison, YTC, Carrera, Frederick Street, etc. So I would be intimately aware of not only what these guys would have done, but the circumstances that would lead to them not being able to manage their own emotions and outbursts and behaviors and so on. And that's the conversation that many people don't want to have. Because we live in a society where, it's a lot of retribution and vengeance. And you see a heinous crime, and the natural human instinct is to punish that person. But don't we ever think about what would bring a person to the point where they would perform such an act? And very often, the people in their lives who would have reneged on their responsibilities and so on, we have a lot of adoration for. Because in the public, they move about and are very respectable people. But there's a lot to be desired from how their children are raised, the examples they show to their sons, and the kinds of advice they would give them, and especially in terms of how they manage their anger when you come to those challenging times.
Joey,
giving a child everything they want, is one of the big reasons for someone not being able to handle disappointment or rejection. So we have to be careful when you try to be perfect parents. You might be contributing to developing a trait that might not be very nice in the end.
And Joey, you're not opening a can of worms there. You're opening a barrel of worms as far as the ability of us as a society to have that real discussion. And just to enlighten us, those who don't associate with people behind bars, who see them as just pure criminals beyond redemption, lock them away, forget about them, they commit terrible crimes, we don't want to hear from them anymore. What have you seen from them? What has been your experience in interacting with some of these very misguided young people who would have done terrible things? What is your impression of them?
Well, to be real and to be fair and to be even, quite a number of people, the big word in the prison system is recidivism. So there are a lot of repeat offenders, and someone might go from doing a deviant act 365 days a year to maybe doing it 50 days a year. So that's the first thing. Usually restoration is a process, and someone may not make a full 360 overnight. So that's the first thing. We observe that someone may continue to be deviant, but it will take a lot more for them to get to that point once the intervention starts. On the other extreme, we have people who have turned out to be leaders. And everybody in the public has experienced it. From Elvis Presley to Mighty Sparrow has spent time in jail. But we don't think about these things. Merchant wrote some of his most brilliant compositions. We have a lot of inmates, former inmates, who are out here now in various spheres. Some are even pastors. And there's no more impacting testimony. We have men who have become imams, pastors, and spiritual leaders, found their spirituality in the oasis of the prison with all its challenges. But they got time to get in touch with themselves. And one of the most heart-wrenching things is that when you are incarcerated, you disappear. All the people you thought were friends and even family, trust me, if you get a visit after a month, you're lucky. People move on. Your wives will get a new husband, and everybody moves on. Many of those men don't get a single visit. Even while in remand.
Sorry to cut across
you have
Joey,
time to face your realities, yes.
We have to leave it there for the moment, but we just want to remind everybody again. Just remind them of the website. And I'm on the website right now, by the way, www.ientlive.com for all the information on the event coming up on May the 9th. Is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you very much.
Musical, theatrical production of edutainment.
Indeed. Marcia Miranda, Louis Nurse, Skatie, Joy Rivers and Band, Bruce Roberts, Tameika Darius, Cindy Ann Bigford, Marcus McDonald, hosted by Errol Fabien, who will give you his usual fare in a very interesting context. Thank you very much once again, Joy Rivers, for taking the time. We really appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
You're more than welcome. As we go to the break, here's an image of the bright rays of the early morning sun at Labre Village in Guayaguayari, captured by one of our regular contributors.